The Last of Us Season 1 left out one of the biggest parts of the video game's lore, an even scarier way to get infected, and Season 2 is confirmed to bring it into the TV show. But before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button, drop a like and comment on the video, and if you're able, please sign up for channel memberships for exclusive content, which really helps us out. Anyway, back to the video. So, the first season of HBO's TV adaptation translated a lot of the game's lore into live action, like clickers, bloaters, and the bureaucratic oppression of Fedra. But it also introduced a lot of new concepts to the mythology, like an underground cordyceps network that connects all of the infected to a kind of hive mind. Ahead of its highly anticipated premiere on April 13th, HBO has been heavily promoting The Last of Us Season 2. At a recent SXSW panel, the cast teased a bigger, more ambitious storyline for the second season and debuted a thrilling new trailer featuring new characters, new settings, and Tommy blasting a bloater with a flamethrower. Not only did this trailer give us our first glimpse of Tommy and Maria's son, it also hinted, and the producers later confirmed, that Season 2 will finally introduce spores to the world of the TV series. At SXSW, the team behind The Last of Us confirmed that Season 2 will feature spores. They can be seen briefly in the new trailer when Ellie is approaching a clicker that's grown into a wall. The air around it is filled with spores. In the games, spores are an airborne way for cordyceps to infect unsuspecting new victims. Whenever spores are around, the characters have to put on their gas masks, and if their mask is broken by a fall or a nearby runner, then they breathe in spores in turn. When the first game teaches the player how to load and fire a gun, they have to decide whether to put a smuggler with a broken gas mask out of his misery. The smuggler has been crushed by falling debris, which has cracked his mask and let spores into his airways. He doesn't want to spend eternity trapped in the body of a mindless mushroom zombie, so he begs Joel to kill him, and the player has to choose whether to grant his wish. This is arguably a more terrifying way to get infected than a mere bite. Season 1 didn't feature spores because they were deemed to be too unrealistic for the more grounded approach of the TV show. In real life, gas masks wouldn't be effective against spores because the spores would stick to people's clothing and stay with them long after they've left spore-ridden areas. Plus, the gas masks would have restricted the emotionality of the actors. That would have covered up Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey's beautifully expressive faces. Leaving out spores meant that Season 1 had to rework a couple of plot points from the game that directly involved them. Seeing Ellie breathe in spores with no consequences is what convinces Joel that she really is immune. The TV show got around this by having Ellie sustain a second bite at the museum, which similarly convinced Joel of her immunity. It's a good thing that spores are finally being introduced in Season 2 because they're crucial to even more plot points in The Last of Us Part 2, and it would have been even harder to figure out a way around them if the TV show stuck to its no spore rule. They might not sound like an integral part of The Last of Us mythology, but they're key to the world building. It's another way of showing how completely cordyceps has ravaged the world and just how harsh and unforgiving this post-apocalyptic wasteland is. It's yet another danger that the characters have to look out for. Having clusters of spores in every dark enclosed space makes survival seem like even more of a miracle. Since the TV show has far fewer infected than the games, spores will go a long way towards making the world seem deadlier. There are certain scenes in The Last of Us Part 2 that rely heavily on spores. In the subway sequence, Dina learns about Ellie's immunity when she sees her breathing in them. The TV show could have had Ellie get bitten again, but it already did that in Season 1. In the hospital sequence, Ellie uses the fact that Nora is succumbing to a spore infection as a means to torture her. The torture wouldn't be as effective if Nora wasn't breathing in spores. HBO's The Last of Us is making the right move by bringing them in.